Good morning and welcome back. This is the Catholic Lady, and we were reading, Great Lion of God by Taylor Caldwell. We are at chapter 21, which is approximately halfway through the book. So I hope to be able to progress with this a little faster so that we can continue to complete this book. I apologize for the many delays and gaps in between, but the chapters are coming along good now, and we're getting excited. It's progressing. Excuse me. We're going to start learning more about Jesus' ministry now, and the time at which that Saul was living in Jerusalem, and so we'll continue from there. All right. Great Lion of God, chapter 21. Rabban Gamliel was discussing philosophies with his pupils, among them Saul of Tarshish. The Greeks, he said, have declared that there is a great similarity between their ascetics and our ancient faith, and have pointed out that God, blessed be his name, has commanded us not to be obsessed with the secular world, for fear of losing our eternal spirits and the world hereafter. And their ascetics have declared that the world of men is extraneous to the spirit, ordered by archaic and demonic divinities and inspirations. But there is a difference of tremendous proportions between us and the ascetics. The world is not relevant to us. It is part of our being, as our body is of the earth, and the dust thereof, and our physical manifestation is as animal as that of the bull and the horse and the bird. In that manifestation, we must deal with the material part of the world. And if we fail in this, our duty, we have failed the Almighty Father also. For has he not told us that his Messiah will take on our flesh? And would he take on our flesh if it were despicable and unworthy of him? Who created it? To despise the world, therefore, and the creatures of the world, is, in measure, to despise God himself. Why do you frown, Saul of Tarshish? Forgive me, said Saul. I am afraid my mind wandered somewhat for a moment. The famous Rabban's lively face puckered slightly. He knew that Saul had not been entirely candid in his reply, for the young man was flushing. The Rabban resumed. Excuse me. We Jews acknowledge that there is a spirit of evil in this world, Lucifer, the fallen archangel, for in the book of Job it is related that God and Lucifer contended for the soul of that faithful man. Whether symbolic or not, we know, each man of us, that good is always warring with evil in our own hearts. And that is not mystical, but actual. As God has his legions of the damned, as God has his legions of the blessed to assist him, so Lucifer must have his legions of the damned to assist him. And so we acknowledge the actuality of demons, though the Sadducees smile superbly at the idea and speak only of a man's conscience, which they allege is the creation of the superstitions of the man's parents, or his own response to living, or his particular religion, or of no religion. But the Sadducees do not explain why a man has a conscience at all, whether fantasy or reality. Only man possesses such. Why? No matter. That is not part of this argument, though the Sadducees do aver that man is good and inclined to good, and therefore has the inner voice of goodness. But we do not believe that the spirits of evil, however malign, are more powerful, or as powerful as the spirit of good, which is God. The Greeks believe that in their realm they are as powerful, and that is why they often sacrifice to them to propitiate them. The more pious among us exercise them. If manifesting externally, though, we know that The internal manifestation is more formidable. We should therefore, perhaps, said the Rabban, smiled his genial smile, exercise ourselves. And that's exorcise, not exercise. The pupils gave him the expected chuckle. He became serious again. We know that our unfortunate men are possessed by demons. However, these are rare. The true evil lies in the heart of men. But that is not the argument. The ascetics of the Greeks believed that as the world is alien to men under the reign of demonic divinities, and therefore inhospitable to the spirit of man, it is necessary to destroy the world and all its manifestations, including our learning, our art, and our law. In short, anarchy. The ascetics may believe this desirable, but can man live in chaos? No, he would perish. I believe that excuse me. I believe that is the malicious desire of the ascetics. They appear to believe that if the world is destroyed and the physical manifestation of man is destroyed thereby, the spirit of man is released. To that they do not specify. To what they do not specify. Can spirit leave without manifestation in some form? God himself manifests himself in his creation. The ascetics and the Jews, accordingly, are far apart in explaining the world and evil. But we do acknowledge the golden mean of the Greeks. A man should not be entirely of the world, lest he lose his soul, nor must he be entirely of the spirit, lest he lose his common humanity, which is a manifestation of the Lord, blessed be his name. We have understood this for a long time, and that is why we fear and suspect the man of absolute mind, who does not know how to labor and to deal with the things of the earth. Absolute mind can be evil as well as good. Moreover, it has a tendency to madness and excess. Man stands with a foot on the materialism and with the other foot in the realm of spirit. That is why, knowing this, we have said that the world is truly our home and that the Messiah will transfigure it and our flesh and make it a house worthy of the Spirit. We cannot encompass the thought as yet, for we think of the world as of boundaries and limitations, but to the Spirit there are no boundaries and no limitations. It is a great mystery. It is truth, but it is always a mystery to our infinite minds, to our finite minds. In conclusion, we should remember this. If God did not love this world of ours, but only despised it, he would not send his Messiah to us. Rather, he would lift the souls of men above the world and destroy the earth beneath, this lovely green garden of God. Let us then love the world of men, not with maudlin sentimentality, or with delicate tears of insincere compassion, but because the world of men is a manifestation of the Almighty. Man must be judged justly, but never with lenience. His sins must never be explained away, lest God is mocked. As he pays for his errors of spirit in the world hereafter, so he must pay for his errors of flesh in this world. He is responsible for his actions, which the chaotic ascetics would deny. Whether weak or strong, foolish or wise, slothful or industrious, beggarly or proud, man must answer solely for himself, judged wisely and impartially among his fellows. He is not a slave to circumstance, as the ascetics imply. He is master of all he thinks and does. Other men may oppress him, but in his soul he is free. Now he responds to that freedom is answerable to God. How he responds to that freedom is answerable to God. In short, we Jews declare that man is born free and remains free, no matter his environment, whereas the Greeks talk of fate especially the ascetics, who would prefer to blame fate for their own sins and evils and not themselves, and wail that it is the world of their fellows which is responsible for their immediate state, and not their own weakness and indifference and apathy and inferiority of will. I have my own theory. I have my own theory about the ascetics. They hate and loathe themselves, for they know what is in their hearts, and therefore for all their protestations of love for man and sorrow for his state, they truly hate man as an extension of themselves. He sighed. It is an old aphorism. We hate and condemn in others what is really in the secret places of ourselves. But rather than condemn ourselves, for man is conceited without reason, we prefer to chastise and denounce our brother, and accuse him of the violences that lives in us, of the vileness that lives in us. And to conceal that vileness, we will eagerly sacrifice the reputation, the happiness, and even the life of our neighbor. Then, said Saul, man is truly contemptible? The Rabban studied him intently for a few moments. I did not say that, Saul of Tarshish. Have you not been listening to me? He seldom rebuked his pupils, and this was the first time he had rebuked Saul. The young man flushed with mortification, and his harsh blue eyes hardened. The other pupils, who did not love him, bent their heads demurely and smiled in their young beards. The further mortified him, and his lips became tight. Later he said to Rabban, I am leaving tomorrow for Tarsus, for there are matters of estate to settle, the legacy of my father. I intend to sell all, and to give all to the temple in Tarsus and to the temple in Jerusalem. Rabban Gamaliel considered him with secret thoughts. He said, That is an exemplary thought, but God, blessed be his name, has also exhorted us to provide for ourselves in this world, so that we will never be a burden to our neighbors and our communities. Our religion is a very sensible one and practical. This was not the reply Saul had expected, and then he remembered that the Rabban, though famous for his charities, did not neglect the well-being and luxuries of his household. Nor did Joseph of Arimathea. As I have explained, said the Rabban, we live in two worlds. We should despise neither. So I advise you to keep some part of your fortune, lest you come on evil days and can no longer labor. You will then be an imposition on your people, and that is manifestly unjust. But God has commanded us to charity and the building of his temples. He has also commanded us to use the common sense he has given us, said Rabban Gamaliel. He looked at the back of the young man as the latter retreated from him, and he shook his head. There was one, it appeared, who believed that in despising and retreating from the world, he served God, and that it was necessary to reject man in order to accept the Almighty. How unfortunate that he had been born a Jew! He should have been an ascetic of the Greeks. Then the Rabban fell into deep thought concerning Saul of Tarshish, and his spirit pondered and was troubled. And we'll pause here, and then we'll come back with chapter 21, part 2.